I would now ask our final presenter for the afternoon, Chief Ava Hill, to come forward. You are with the Chiefs of Ontario. Welcome back to Queen's Park. You've done this many times, so you know the drill.
I need an officer.
Make yourself comfortable. You will have 5 minutes to address our committee, and then each caucus will question you for up to 3 minutes. Start by stating your name. Begin any time.
Chief Ava Hill. I'm the elected chief of Six Nations of the Grand River, but I'm also the chair of a Chiefs of Ontario committee who's been dealing with hydro rates. And accompanying me is Amy Lickers, who is the staff person at the Chiefs of Ontario. And I'd like to begin by acknowledging that and welcoming you to the shared territory of lands of the Haudenosaunee and a number of many other nations who have come together under the dish with one spoon. First Nations treaty land rights, I should say as well that we will be sending a written submission to you later, and so I'm just going to do a verbal one today. So just to begin, First Nations treaty land rights have not been accounted for often when industry or government made decisions about lands and resources. And as a result, there are a number of outstanding historic issues between First Nations communities and between many of the people in this province, including utilities. In my community as Six Nations, and why I ended up being the chair of the committee, is I spent many hours talking to former Minister of Energy, Minister Chiarelli, about the hydro bills that our people in our community, not only in my community, but in every First Nation community in this province, was facing. It took a long time, but finally I think my message got through to him. And we also have the political accord that was signed between the First Nations and the Premier. The regional chief signed it, and this is something that is brought together to look at how do we address the historic issues between Ontario and between the First Nations in this province. In February, we had another meeting with Minister Chiarelli where we discussed how we were going to look at the hydro rates that First Nations people were facing every day in their community. And I also had meetings with Rosa Marie Leclerc, who is the chair of the Ontario Energy Board, to discuss the same things. And we agreed that we would set up a grievance process. And that grievance process was divided into two parts. One part was that we would deal with the hydro rates, and the other part is that we would deal with some of the historic issues related to our land rights and the transmission lines being on our land rights. And we made it quite clear that they were two separate issues. And I just want to say that what led up to this process is the work that we were doing at Six Nations. We developed a friendly relationship and a very professional and a very useful relationship with Hydro One. For the last couple of years, Hydro One officials have been coming into our community, sitting with our members one-on-one to talk about their bills. Because there is a lot of poverty in my community, as there are in many First Nations, and people were having to make decisions as to whether they buy food or pay their hydro bills. And they did not have the resources to continue to make their payments, so arrears have piled up. Hydro One has reached out and established a relationship with us, and they have sat with us and come down, and their staff even bring coffee and donuts for our people when they meet with them. And they continue to do that every month and spend the day with people. So this has become a pilot project, and it's spread out to other communities, First Nations communities in the province. And this has worked really well, and it's also worked as well with us working with the ministry with respect to the historic grievances. We are right now in the discussions with them. And our hard work paid off last June when Minister Thibeault came to the Chiefs of Ontario and said that he was directing the Ontario Energy Board to look at a non-reserve First Nations hydro rate. We worked with the Ontario Energy Board at the Chiefs of Ontario, and over 5 weeks we traveled across the country to 5 different locations to hear from all of the First Nations representatives as to what they wanted to see. How did they want to participate? There were over 72 participants and a total of 48 First Nations communities. We have a document that was called The Voices of Our People. And one of the main things they came out with were that we eliminate the delivery charge for First Nations on-reserve members. And we were very pleased when on March 2nd, Premier went and Minister Thibeault announced the Ontario Fair Hydro Plan, which included the elimination of the First Nations delivery credit. The joy and relief from First Nations was evident. And as a First Nation leader, it was a very emotional day and uplifting for me because I had put my heart and soul into doing that on the benefit of all of our community members. It was also an indication to us that the province was listening to us. The First Nations delivery credit, as I said, will not only bring relief to households and First Nations communities, it will bear witness to the renewed relationship that we have established with the province in the light of the Truth and Reconciliation Report. On March 10th, members of our Chiefs Committee met with the Minister of Energy, the Ontario Power Generation, IESO, and Ontario Energy Board in Garden River.
30 seconds to go.
Okay, this energy table was positive, and we're going to continue to work on this. And we will continue to work with Hydro One. We will continue to work with the Ministry of Energy in implementing the elimination of the delivery rate for First Nations. We are also involved in a long-term energy plan so that we can look at options for the future. And I just want to say that we are thankful that the Premier and the ministers and the Ontario government have listened to us. There has been much distrust between us and the government, and a lot of our people are still thinking this is too good to be true. So I just wanted to say that and say that the political accord is working for us, and this is a good news story for First Nations people. You know,
Thank you very much. Our first questions for you are from our PC caucus MPPs. Smith.
Thank you for being here with us today. We appreciate your input. Has the release of the Financial Accountability Officer's report into exactly where the cost of electricity is going to go over the course of the Fair Hydro Plan, has that had an impact on, you said the words, it almost seemed too good to be true. Does that impact how you feel about the deal now, knowing what the Financial Accountability Officer is saying?
well, the first I heard was just sitting here listening to you,
Right.
because when he made his presentation. We have always worked from day to day. You know, what's going to happen in 4 years? Let's all sit down and work on options and relationships to say things are going to be better in 4 years. I know that you're all projecting that there's going to be doom and gloom in 4 years, but let's work. We're working on a long-term energy plan with the Ministry of Energy. We are going to look at options as to how we continue to keep hydro and electricity rates affordable for our people.
I understand that. I just wonder, though, with the costs that are involved, and we're talking billions and billions of dollars here, anywhere from $45 billion over the course of this deal to $93 billion. That would pay for all of Ontario's education system for 3 years. Imagine what it would do for First Nations territories in Ontario. I'm just wondering, do you believe that that is the wisest way to spend the money, is to provide a little bit of relief now, and then after the election, all of the projections show that the cost of electricity is going to soar?
Well, you know, Ontario has often taken the position, particularly when you guys were in the government, that we were always the federal responsibility. And if Ontario now wants to start giving us money for infrastructure and water and housing on reserves, we'd gladly take that, and we're willing to work with you on how that can be done. In addition, I can talk specifically to Six Nations, and we have land on 6 miles of either side of the Grand River, which is our traditional territory. And the government takes billions out of there in tax dollars. We don't get that now. So how is that going to, we're in that situation now.
Do you know, and you mentioned that the debt retirement charge was taken off of bills in an announcement made last summer, I believe you said.
No,
When did you say the debt retirement charge was removed?
the delivery charge.
The delivery charge.
The delivery
Okay.
charge is
Sorry, I
included in the Fair
apologize.
Hydro bill, and it will be eliminated on First Nations communities if this legislation goes through.
So there is a debt retirement charge that will be coming back as well as a result of this Liberal plan that will cost $22 on every bill in 10 years' time
Well, you
to
know what
recover the
we'll do?
cost of this.
What we'll do is we'll continue to do what we did to get that delivery charge eliminated. We'll continue to sit with Hydro One. We'll continue to sit with whoever is in the government to make sure that that doesn't happen or that it doesn't affect First Nations communities.
And I'm
And we're
pleased to hear.
looking at the
yeah.
historic uses of the land.
Thank you. Our next questions for you are from the NDP caucus, MPP Tabbins.
Thank you, Chair. And Chief Hill, thank you very much for coming here today. I appreciate your commentary. My colleague, Mr. Smith, has asked pretty much all the questions that I was going to ask, so I won't put you through them twice. I have no further questions. Thank you again.
And thank you very much, and I want to thank the NDP for the support they've given to the Indigenous people in this province over the years.
You are from our Liberal caucus. We have MPP Delaney.
Thank you very much, and Chief Hill, very nice to see you. Would it be, you've described very eloquently the quality of the relationship that our First Nations and the province and its agencies have been building together over the last several years. Would it be accurate to call them productive, respectful, and professional?
Yes, I think it would. It
Okay.
certainly has been. I've been the chief for 3 years, and I've spent As your chair will know, I spent a lot of time here in Queen's Park.
Well, we'll
In
we'll
that
look,
respect alone, I think it's been productive.
we'll look into getting you that
And the
desk.
speaker, and the speaker is at our fingertips.
That is true. The proposed elimination of the delivery charge in Bill 132, you're aware that that proposed change is permanent?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there any other comment that you'd like to make?
Just that when we did our engagement, we were, that was the main focus that we wanted, was to get the delivery charge, because every First Nation in this community is in a rural setting, which meant that the delivery charge was a lot higher than it would be for people downtown Toronto. And I think this is something that really hit home with Minister Chiarelli when I was bombarding him day after day about this. And when that came, that was our main focus, to get the delivery charge eliminated. But then when we saw the other parts of the bill, like the further 17% reduction, which is not going to only benefit us, but going to benefit all Ontarians, that wasn't added. When we saw that the Ontario Electricity Support Program criteria was going to be expanded, that is going to affect more of our people, so they can take advantage of that. And then when we saw the Affordability Act also added. So there were a number of things that we didn't know that were going to be in there, so that's why I say it was a good deal for us. Like, we would have been happy with the delivery rate, but we're very much more happier to have all of the other things included. And it's certainly, as I said, the joy in our community. Because now people, as I said, are going to decide, do I pay my hydro bill or do I buy food for my kids? That's how the situation is in many communities. And we have had many elders and seniors who have had their bills skyrocket because they have not been able to keep up with the payments because of the high delivery rates. That's why we're working with Hydro One, and we have their staff come down on a one-on-one basis so that we can work out payment plans. We're not saying that people should not have to pay their bills. We're saying, come on, let's talk about these payment plans. And then the other part of it is, going back to what I was talking about earlier, is our historic land rights here, which we've never really been compensated for.
10 seconds.
I was just speaking at a session to students this morning, and I said, you know, we welcomed all of your ancestors here. We helped them survive on this land, and we continue to welcome newcomers. And I think it's
Thank
only
you
time
very
that we
much.
get that historical recognition.
Chief Hill, that is your time for today. I want to thank you for appearing before the committee and remind you and all of the other deputants that the deadline for written submissions is 5 p.m. tomorrow. That's Thursday, May 25th, 2017. So to all of the deputants, thank you very much for being here this afternoon, and to all of our committee members, thank you for your input and your hard work. We stand adjourned.